Welcome to techieway.com, your solution providers. This is Abhishek, and today we're going to be creating a great sunset effect in Photoshop. And one of the most important things that we want to make sure here is that all the elements of the image is perfectly blended with all the rest of the image so that the image looks natural. And so first we're going to go to our gradient tool over here and click on this panel over here. Now what we want to do to create a great sunset effect, and I think we'll be creating this in this area over here, is have a gradient preset that goes from white color to green color. So we're gonna choose any gradient over here. Now click on this first spot over here and choose the color to be white and press OK. And now choose the last part over here and choose the color to be red, completely red, and press OK. Now click on any medium point over here and choose its color to be orange, because we know that the sun from its core to the boundary goes from white, orange and red, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a nice orange color, and as you can see, this gives us a pretty good blended color range of the sun. Now we're gonna press new over here, and that gives us our new gradient tool, and press OK. Now we can choose a new layer, and as you can see, if we draw a gradient tool like this, it gives us a pretty good radial gradient tool. We can choose linear gradient tool like this also, in which, as you can see, it goes from white, orange and red, and this is perfectly blended, so we don't have to worry about creating more effects in this. Now obviously because we are choosing the sun, we want it to be of circular gradient tool. So before doing this, we want to make sure where we want to put this, because we want to put this over here and it has to be a small circle. So we're gonna choose our center to be here and create a line like this, and this will give us a pretty good sun, maybe a little longer, because we want to make sure that it looks natural. You can always check this by seeing where your gradient sun is falling. Actually, we can always change the position of this sun as you like it, but make sure the shape of the sun is perfectly adjusted. Now choose a elliptical marquee tool from the panel here and press shift to make sure you draw a circle, a pretty big circle. Now we're gonna cut the circle out of the image and press this layer mask over here, and this is gonna give us our sun. And first thing that we want to do is change the blending mode from normal to screen, and as you can see, this gives us a pretty good hue in the image. Now first of all, we're gonna make sure that the boundaries of this image is not pretty sharp. That's why we will go to filter, blur and Gaussian blur, and take the radius to a quantity where this diagonal section appears blended with the image, and then press OK. Now what we're gonna do is, as you can see, this is just another layer over our background, so we can move it, but let's keep it up over there. Now first thing we're gonna do is make sure that the whole image is perfectly blended with the sun that we just created. And as you can see, you can maybe lower this down a little bit, and as you can see, the boundary over here does not match with this color tone of the grass. So what we're gonna do is grab curve adjustment layer from the bottom panel and pump up our rates of the image. We're gonna make sure that the grass and rest of the image is perfectly blended. And secondly, we're gonna increase greens too, just a little bit, and make sure that we bring down our blue so that we get a fine orange hue around the sun and the rest of the image. That's it. That's one of the first thing that we want to do to make sure that the color is perfectly blended. As you can see, the before and after, the skin is pretty great blended with the background, which was not so before. And as you can see, this area is all perfectly covered too. Now the next thing we want to do is take a color balance adjustment layer and select the highlights to make sure that the sun is selected, because it is pretty bright and so it will be selected, and pump up our yellows and reds just a little bit to fine tune the image, just to make sure that the rest of the image is perfectly blended and no ambiguity in the boundary or other selections are left. This actually gives us a pretty great selection and make sure that all the small particles and minute details are perfectly covered with the color grading. Let me just group it together by pressing Ctrl G, and as you can see, this is before and after. We created a great effect, and we can always make any amendments that we want. Like if we want to move this one, we just have to take the hand tool and change the position right here like this. And as you can see, the grass and overall skin tone of the girl appears much better, and we get our sunset effect right here. The image is perfectly blended, and that was our sunset effect in Photoshop. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.